As the Israelites stand on the edge of the Holy Land, having survived subjugation and scarcity, infighting and social restructuring, Moshe does not instruct them to be brave or to persevere, but rather tasks the people with something far more challenging, to be totally without fear. The stakes are high. God brought the Israelites out of Egypt and sent them on a generations-long trek to inhabit a land filled with other nations, larger and stronger than they. In order to fulfill God's vision and uphold their divine covenant, the Israelites must find a way to exact their dominion in the land. They must go to war. Chapter 20 of the book of Deuteronomy opens with Moshe's instructions on the matter. When you go out to war against your enemies, he says, and you see horses and chariots and nations larger than you, have no fear of them, for the Lord your God is with you. Moshe, in an attempt to ward fear away from the people's hearts, reminds them of their relationship with God, reminds them that they are a different kind of nation, a nation of believers. And this call to rid themselves of fear in such a heightened moment is a challenging request. It raises for me a few questions. Why is fear amongst the Israelites so dangerous? Is Moshe's rejoinder really enough to rid them of it? And what, if anything, can this tell us about our own fear today, or the nature of our beliefs? After the opening statement of chapter 20, Moshe goes on to describe a pre-battle ceremony to be carried out by the priests to help Israel heed God's mandate and approach war fearlessly. The ceremony before battle begins with a priest reminding the community of Moshe's instruction. He says, "You are about to go into battle against your enemies. Let not your hearts waver. Do not fear and do not quake and do not dread them. For it is the Lord your God who goes with you to war with your enemies to deliver you." The priest then offers certain community members an out. He instructs those with outstanding obligations, anyone with a vineyard to harvest, a house to dedicate, or a betrothed to marry, to go home and carry out those obligations. But before they leave, an officer of the troop steps in and announces another group that should depart: those who remain fearful and faint-hearted. Then, both groups of people, those with outstanding obligations and those too fearful to fight, depart the battlefront together. In order to protect the fearful from feeling shame, the Torah offers a built-in mechanism to ensure their anonymity amongst the crowd dismissed by the priests. The ceremony necessitates an immense amount of self-awareness from the troops. With drums pounding and shields clashing, the people of Israel have to ask themselves, am I fearful right now? In order for the system to work, each person has to be so in tune with their own emotional world. Of course, anyone would feel nervous or anxious, excited even, or any number of things entering an armed conflict. But the success of the army hinges on their ability to recognize whether their feelings are rooted in or separate from a fearfulness that could impact their ability to meet the heightened moment. Framed in this light, the ceremony teaches us that having a national body who is able to differentiate between fear and passion, or fear and righteous anger, or fear and whatever else one might be experiencing in a high-stakes moment is as necessary to military success as anything else. So how do they determine who should take this out from battle? We have a number of texts that attempt to outline the type of fear that precludes an Israelite from fighting. The Midrash understands the fear to which Moshe refers as sensory-induced. Drashing on the 4 different phrases used by the priests in their initial ceremonial address to the troops, "Let not your hearts waver, do not fear, do not quake, and do not dread," that's 4, the Midrash explains that Moshe's instructions are a warning against fear induced by the 4 noises the enemy made in war: clashing swords and shields, trumpeting, shouting, and the tramping of horses' hooves. The raucousness of war is intended to feel threatening, and the Israelites should not fall victim to their enemies' attempts to win before the battle even takes place. Ibn Ezra offers a different interpretation of the fear, one brought on not by the battlefield, but by the world outside. He believes the exemptions for the outstanding obligations are, at their root, no different than the exemptions due to fear. Even if the battle does not prove fatal for an individual, it is still a time-consuming and life-altering event. In this way, one approaching war may realize they will not have time or the ability to accomplish their previously set goals. This fear, Ibn Ezra holds, would be all the more painful and distracting for those so close to achieving them. He acknowledges that at some time, people are able to move past their established sense of what they want for themselves and answer the call of a communal task. But at other times, one must take a step back and know that they won't be able to approach that task at hand without meeting their own personal needs first. In the Talmud, Rabbi Yossi HaGalili offers a third interpretation of what this fear could be. An Israelite might be so afraid of their own sin, so convinced that God might have a reason for this battle to be the cause of their untimely death, that they become so consumed by their own irredeemability to fight. While this fear of one's own death inherently includes an acknowledgement of God's power, it does so in a way that implies a lack of trust in God, which, according to our Parsha, would certainly be an improper disposition from which to enter into war. All three of these definitions of fear are familiar. Just as the Midrash imagines the Israelites too overwhelmed by the pandemonium of war, so too have we experienced the pandemonium of war through the inundation of horrific images, heartbreaking stories, and the noise caused by global attention. It can certainly be enough to make one's heart waver, enough to stop one from even approaching the matter. Ibn Ezra's attunement to the fear caused by disruption of our day-to-day lives and long-held goals is similarly familiar to us. How often do we want to take up cause or commitment, make a change in the world, but find ourselves putting it off or hoping someone else will do it instead because we can't afford to stop engaging in the work we're already obligated in or fulfilled by? And finally, at some point or another, every person has doubted that God will do right by them in their most vulnerable moments. Who are we to merit God's redemptive hand time and time again? These are worthy questions and reasonable fears, yet ones the Parsha deems dangerous for action. When the future of the nation depends on our success, we must adopt a more steady disposition. If our individual capacity to recognize and release fear, or release ourselves from having to act in it, is so vital for our communal safety and sanctity, how do we do it? Our tradition offers a few different antidotes to fear. A teaching from Baba Batra in the name of Rabbi Yehuda cheekily remarks that fear is strong, but wine dispels it. And for some, perhaps Rabbi Yehuda included, this is resolution enough. It seems, though, the antidote for fear is something else altogether, as our Parsha insists. It tells us to hold fast to God, to believe that God is with us. But what does that belief do? How does it actually work in our hearts? Ramban suggests that the human heart alone is not designed to be strong enough to face the fears that arise in war. Only God's heart can handle such a weighty thing. When we link ourselves to God, we radically accept our own limited capacities, and we locate other resources to help with the weight. Belief in God is not necessarily belief that God will swoop down and intervene on our behalf, or that God will always do the right thing by us. Rather, we believe in a God that holds our fear with us, a God that makes himself a container for the things we can't bear alone. And I'll acknowledge that belief can sometimes feel insurmountable or unreachable. As generation after generation of Jewish people are presented with destruction and despair, to many of us, belief in God has become an impossible conclusion. In response, progressive Jewish worlds today have often decentered belief in God as a motivating pillar of our work. We tout value statements, offer writings on ethics, ritual practices, shared language, all good and useful in their own contexts. But in this precarious moment of our history, where we stand eerily on the edge of a new paradigm for us as a people, as Israel, I can't help but notice the undercurrent of fear that remains in our midst. These fears, whether they be from overwhelm, from the threatening noises of our age, or the concern that we won't be able to live out the future we have imagined for our people, or from the tremendous weight of not knowing if we are worthy of overcoming our own demise, these fears are so potent. They require something equally as powerful to ease them. The words of Moshe in his final and most provocative state instruct us to deeply consider belief in God and let whatever belief we can come to hold on to our fears for us as we move forward into the coming challenge, that of a new world. And if the function of our belief is to have a force greater than ourselves that can bear the enormity of our fears, then you can locate that load-bearing force wherever works for you. You can say that your motivating belief is belief in communal power, or belief in the enduring nature of Jewish ritual practice, or in the possibility of a new generation. No matter what it is, the mechanism of belief in each individual is a mighty tool of communal safety, in that it keeps us from acting dangerously in our fears. This week, we started the seasonal practice of reciting Psalm 27 for the month of Elul. The first two lines of the psalm read, "God is my light and my help, whom shall I fear? God is the stronghold of my life, whom shall I dread?" It's a good time to be examining the capacities of our belief, how they impact our approach to what truly terrifies us. This next year together will bring its own unpredictable paradigm shifts, its own new frontiers that we are just waiting on the edge of. I'm looking forward to this coming year of my fellowship with you, and I'm grateful for your warm welcome, and I can already tell how fortunate I am to get to spend this period of my training learning and serving with you. And as we get to know one another, I look forward to hearing about your strongly held beliefs, how you think about your faith and your commitments. I want to close today with a poem by Joy Layden from her book, Shekhinah Speaks, which offers us the voice of the Shekhinah, the feminine aspect of God that dwells with us on earth. For me, this poem, titled Ready, encapsulates the core teaching of our Parsha. Are you ready to be strong? Are you ready to follow me beyond the fear that warns you to hold your tongue when cruelty and hopelessness, degradation and evil stab you through the heart? Fear likes you this way. Self-loathing and numb, believing you're no one I'd ever choose. A worm in a tunnel, dust in a gale, a nameless pool of blood I could never love. I summon them all to judgment. The fear that stalks you to the ends of the earth. The shame and disgrace that nail you in your place. Everything that gets in the way of you responding when I say, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I was here before fear, and I'm there beyond it, opening fountains, trampling kings underfoot, calling you to me, across generations, by paths you haven't walked, by ways you cannot imagine. I'm the mother who really sees, the father who understands you, every version, real, imagined, future and past, cypress and desert, queer fluid light, thresher of mountains, solitary pine. You have nothing to fear and nothing to prove. Are you ready to be strong? It's time to remake the world. Shabbat Shalom.